Hey drivers, this thing is awesome, but it's in the way. We got to get it on wheels so we can move it to a better spot. We have to get this project done mainly because we need to protect this thing. Right now it's too close to the dirtiest part of the shop where we use grinders and cutting tools and throw that carbon-based stuff all over the place. I don't want that in the sensitive parts of my mill. Particularly right here. See how all that's exposed? So eventually we're going to move the mill over there and probably put some kind of a curtain arrangement around it for when we're doing fabricating in this section of the shop. It's going to have to be on wheels so we can do that. Let's go to the surplus steel place to pick up what we need. Good job there, Tiggles. Yeah, he's a good old boy. You be alright? You stay here for a little bit and then I'll be back. This place has what they call usable drops. But when I can't find it there, I have to begrudgingly pay full price for something they call prime stock. We need about 24 inches of this, and here's one piece that ought to fit the bill. This is 3-inch square with a 1/4 inch wall. I need to be able to get at this weld here. We're going to be grinding that weld down so that we can slip some 2.5-inch square into that. Usually do pretty well here, but today I am striking out. I really need some angle iron, but I'm not finding it, so we might be able to make it out of this plate. Problem is, I'm just barely going to need 2 of those. Spent a little bit more than I wanted to, but this mill is 2,000 pounds, so I don't want to skimp on the steel. We need to do it right. Think there, Tiggles? Is this getting kind of silly? I'm a big believer in putting everything that you can in your shop on wheels, and so I try to do that every chance I get, and here's one more situation where I think I just have to. I have some ideas on how we might be able to pull this off. I'm going to want to put it on some pretty big wheels, widen the footprint a little bit so it's more stable when it's rolling, and build it super heavy, because I just don't want to think about anything failing under the weight of this 2,000 pound monster. A key part of the design is nesting these pieces of square tubing inside each other, and that's kind of a challenge. They're really not made for this. When you get this stuff, it has a weld seam on the inside that would cause interference, right? We're not going to be able to slide anything in here as long as that weld is in the way. So we have to grind that out of the way, and that'll allow us to do pretty cool things with some square tubing. I've got some of them done already, but I've got to finish this one and a few bigger pieces. The way I cut down that weld has evolved a little bit. I've been using a Dremel, and these cutters, these are actually pretty good cutters. They're just about $5 gazillion a piece, and so it gets kind of expensive even though they're very effective. I also got tired of buying new Dremels. They're kind of a light duty tool, and I'm doing structural steel, so understandable they don't really survive this kind of abuse long enough to justify their cost. So I've gone searching. This is a pretty good option because these are cheap and I can at least get started with this. I'll do as much of the grinding as I can, but on a lot of these tubes this is too big, so it only fits so far down in there, and then the rest of it I've started doing this way. This is called a pencil air grinder. I've got it duct taped to just a steel dowel so I can reach deep down in one of these tubes if I need to go that far. And I've found these real cheapy discs on Amazon. I just bought 100 pack of these things for 20 bucks. So 20 cents a piece versus about $2 a piece for these. You can tell a difference in the quality. I mean, they're not the same, but I think I get more mileage out of this approach than I do with the Dremel approach, just because it's really, the work's too hard for one of these. This is meant for crafts and stuff, so seems to be working okay. Another trick is to put a shop light right at the bottom of the tube, shining up through the tube so you can see what's going on inside. Visibility is kind of an issue here. My priorities for this platform are to be, number one, that there is no question it can hold this much weight. And so to achieve that, I'm just going to build heavy and use really big wheels that are rated like twice what this thing actually weighs. The other priority is that it be more stable. So I'm going to give it a really wide footprint, but this also means that I need to keep it low to the ground, and that's going to be a problem because I want to use those big wheels that will raise it off the ground. So I think the most complex part of this design are going to be the wheel assemblies that achieve a lower center of gravity and the leveling feet. This is what I've come up with. It looks a little goofy right now, but dimensionally I think it's going to work out for us. I'm going to go ahead and start making some parts, and then we'll start piecing things together, see if it's actually going to work. These are larger 3-inch pieces of steel. They're going to be used for the wheels. We're going to make kind of removable modules for the wheels because they'll stick out a little bit, and I won't need that when the mill is up on its feet. So these will slip off of the pieces we were just working on. It's been a long time since I had a full day to spend in the garage, and well, I still don't, but we got to get this thing done. Starting with these pieces here that are going to be the caster wheel assemblies. I'll give you a basic idea of what this will look like, something like that, with some gussets and other bits. These parts are done, but we need the jam bolts. They have this little cup on the bottom of them from the way they're manufactured, and that actually digs into the metal for a really positive hold, but I don't think we need that. These things hold just fine without damaging the steel. I don't want to damage this steel if I don't need to, so we're going to grind all of these tips into a dog point, so it's just pretty much flat but a little rounded and doesn't have those biting cups in there. I need to make 16 of them. You see the bolts? Look, it's a bolt, see? Isn't that neat? Pretty neat. Good boy. Here's what we just made, side view. Now we need to make the leveling feet. We have some pipe, we have some massive threaded rod to act as the leveling feet things, and all the matching hardware. Let's get started. To make our feet, we'll just weld this on the end of the threaded rod. That'll give us a nice wide footprint. Grind it relatively flat and probably sit it in a washer to spread the load a little bit further out. I want to weld this nut on the end of this pipe centered, but really just as square as I can get it. So I did put this in the lathe to flat each end and make everything totally square. The big reason for that was this weld that's coming up. So to get things set up, I'm going to put it here. That should hold everything in place for me. So I'll center it, tighten it down, and we'll give it a good solid bead going all the way around. Hopefully one that's pretty. We'll see. We have leveling feet. The rollers will look something like this. With a ton of gussets. So I'm going to start cutting these pieces and the gussets. We're going to make a modification to the design. The way I've been thinking is I would use this 6-inch caster wheel, and you can see that it's got plenty of clearance here. I can even sneak in a full width gusset here, kind of sorta, with this 3-inch, 1/4-inch plate. and still have room, and that's great. But I've changed my mind. I like the idea of using these locking casters. It was kind of the original idea anyway. Problem is the little lever for locking hits the piece of angle iron, and that totally blows out the idea of having that plate go all the way across. So what I'm going to do is move things out a bit. You can see we have an issue over here to take care of, but it does clear, and I'm making up some gussets, more traditional gussets for over here. May even be better to put them in this way, I don't know. But whatever, there's some gussets. And the little lever just barely clears. So cool. What do we do about this? Well, we'll use some 1/2 inch square rod here, welded on the end of the angle. That'll extend things and give me something solid to put holes in. Out of everything, I don't think this very end here is going to be all that critical anyway. I'm just kind of adding that to make things look good. But there you go. That's the underside of the mounts for these 6-inch swivel full lock casters. Aren't we fancy? Multi-pass welding is a little bit new for me, so I don't know if this is going well or not. I know for sure on this side that it didn't go well, and I ground most of it off. Part of the problem was having the bolt in here kind of like this. I had it all the way down, but it was still in my way. So I'm going to come up with something to protect the threads. That's why the bolt was there in the first place, but not stick up so high. That ought to do it. I'm a lot happier with the second pass than the first pass. Getting the practice I need, I guess. This is probably the most technical part of the whole build, are these things. The thing that made it so complex, of course, was trying to stay low profile. So if this is the bottom of the mill here, ooh, that's kind of warm. It's 6 inches down to the wheels. Probably would have been safe to just go 5 inches and only have about 1 inch of clearance. That would have been a matter of moving the angle iron up. That would have been a nicer gusset arrangement up here also. But I went with this for rolling on and off of a trailer. I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to have a little bit of clearance down here, more than just 1 inch, because I don't want it to drag on anything. I'm thinking of the top of a ramp where it kind of sticks up a little bit. So here's the compromise. This should work out for us. I think this satisfies our need for a prototype. Now we'll just make 3 more sets of all of these parts, get them all welded together, and move on to the frame. We've made a ton of parts and pieces for this thing. The wheel mounts, the adjustable feet, cross members, reinforced. And we just finished this angle iron piece here. We're ready to hoist the mill up. We have our chain that's going to do the lifting, plus a couple of reinforcements here. I want to get things tacked together in place if I can. So first thing is to lift the mill and bolt the angle iron in place. I don't want it just hanging there while I'm messing around, so I'm going to lift the mill and sit it on this piece of I-beam. And there's another piece just like it in the front. And that'll give us a chance to bolt the angle iron into place. And if we like that, we'll lift it again and sit it down on the cross members. Try and get everything positioned just like we want it, and do some tack welds. Then we'll take it out from under the mill, finish weld it, install it, and be all set. Then a bunch of heavy lifting and moving and disassembling this crane. Oh, we got a lot of work to do. So okay, let's lift this thing and sit it on the I-beams. Okay, it's hovering about 3.5 inches off the ground there. Let's bolt in the angle iron. I added some ballast to the back here to level off the mill, and we've let it down onto all 4 major pieces. But I want to line things up. So this little scribe here should be on this edge of that angle iron. See, we're off by about the same amount over here. So pretty simple adjustments to make, but I need to go around and get all of this just as precise as I can, and we'll see if we nailed it on our dimensions or not. then make a decision about tack welding it like this or just going on faith alone. Pulling the pieces out, getting them perfectly square, tack welding them on their own. Just feeling like when we let the mill back down on the assembled product that everything will be in good shape. We'll see. Funny thing about the dimensions that I was able to find was the distance between this bolt hole and the front bolt hole is 28.5 inches. But I could not get a measurement for the distance between here and the rear of the machine. From front to rear, the whole base is 36.25 inches, but still, that doesn't give me this dimension or the dimension from the front bolt to the very front of the machine. Kind of difficult to measure that because this back has a curve to it. So I used a square and some straight edges and got as close as I could, but I think I'm going to be about an 1/8 inch off, maybe as much as a 1/4 inch off, and that won't be the end of the world, but that's kind of what I'm looking for now, is to see how all this stuff lines up. What I prefer is to not expect to be off at all. This scribe lines up perfectly, but this mark looks a little bit off to the right, and this scribe is a little off to the right. So I want to figure out, like everything's pretty wobbly here, I want to figure out why. I should have about 1 inch outside of the base all the way around. So I think what I'm going to do, get that one centered a little better. Things are lining up fine in a functional sense. However, I expected 1 inch of clearance back here, and I don't have that. So my sneaky suspicion is that the 36.25 inch measurement from front to back might have been measured over here and not in the middle where things bow out a little bit. So I'm kind of glad that we designed in that inch of clearance, because that gives this area something to move into. Now we'll check this theory. I'm going to well, I'm going to weld things together by themselves. I'm not going to tack weld them into place because I can't get things as square as I want them to be here. I'm confident enough that the holes in this angle iron line up with those holes, and that we have enough room for the base to sit fully on metal support. So we're gonna be fine, but I'm gonna raise the mill up and take a measurement here from front to rear, and it would not surprise me if we see something like 3.5 or 36.5, 36 5/8 inches or so. That would explain a little bit of what I'm seeing here. Yeah, that is 30. It's 36 5/8 of an inch. So, okay, that makes me feel better about things. Let's go ahead and weld this thing together. I'm using that piece of angle iron on the left there to make sure everything is square. Curiously, this only works when the angle iron is square. I had to go through a few pieces to find one that was actually 90 degrees. But I think we're all set for some tack welds. We'll just do this on each corner and a million checks as we go. this is kind of a critical part here. I think all the work was done in getting the measurements right. But we want this to be square and really, really welded in there, because ultimately these leveling feet are going to support the weight of the machine. So we have 4 of them to do that job, but that's over 500 pounds a piece. This needs to be a really strong weld. So I will probably do 3 passes where I can. So this is a really deep area here. If I can get all the way down to the bottom with that with a root weld, that would be really good. Same thing underneath this angle iron. So we'll get tacked in everywhere we can, and then we'll get in under that. Got to make sure they're going the right way. So this is the top that the mill will sit on, and this is, of course, is the bottom, and we have our little leveling feet there. Let's get these things welded in now. It's late, but we are ready to throw this thing underneath the bridge port and see if it works. I am very ready to get that bridge port into a better location. I've been stumbling over stuff for months, just working around all of this. So this should be quite the improvement. Yeah, getting some rain for the 6th time today. I see a big problem. Do you see a problem? I see a big problem. I'm not going to be able to get the wheels on here. I think I need to put them on right now. I need to put the mounts on, and then I'll be able to bolt the wheels to that. The wheels will have to go this way because it's such a tight fit. I need to do that now. I made 2 pairs of these. The only difference are these bolts are on the opposite side on the other pair. This way the bolts can be arranged so that they always face inward. So this is going to act as the back left. It could also be the front right. Excuse me, Rodeo. Excuse me, buddy. Gotta get over here. Thank you, buddy. We have some challenges here with putting wheels on when there's crane parts in the way. We'll get that figured out, but it should be evident now that a wide footprint was part of the goal. So when this thing is mobile, when it's on wheels, we have the benefit of the super wide footprint, and then these parts come off, right? The leveling feet raise the mill off of its wheels. The wheels come off, the entire module comes off. We just end up with these little stubs for the duration, and those wheels can be used for other projects with this bracket system we've put together. So if it can handle the weight of this mill, I think we're going to be in great shape. Okay, we'll do that 3 more times. All the mounting bolts are in place, so the mill and the skid are one piece. Let's raise this thing up so we can mount some wheels. Still weird to see this thing just float like this. This is where we want to be. Wheels are on. Now they're kind of trapped in their place, so we're not going to see a lot of roly-poly here. Not until we get this crane taken down. But let's put it on the ground and just see what it's like. Okay, it's on its wheels. Okay, I can kind of sort of roll it. I have a million things in the way, but it rolled. Okay, I need to call it. Next step is to pull the crane down, but I'm going to do that when I'm fresh. So we'll get a good night's sleep, then get up there in the ceiling and pull the crane down, get it out of the way. That's really why we needed to rush on this project, because I need the crane for something else. And then we'll move the mill into its spot. This will be wonderful, but I think we're in good shape. What you think? You think we're in good shape? I think we're in good shape. All right, one step closer to usefulness with our mill.